Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Vivian Wogu. So how are you guys doing? Happy Sunday. I'm recording this today because a lot of people are already on their way to North Cyprus. So I thought I should share this information. As you guys know, I don't like to share real-time information, especially on my whereabouts, but because it's important to you and some other students, so I decided to share it now. And this is to also let you know that I care so much about you and about saving you money. If you're a returning subscriber, I love you so much. Thank you for always coming to watch my videos and sharing. And if you're just seeing me for the very first time, you are welcome to the family. My name is Vivian Wogu. Here you'll hear everything about nursing, travel, and my personal life with feminine hygiene kind of. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the pandemic protocols. I just traveled a few days ago from Nigeria to North Cyprus, and it was a whole lot of experience. So I want to share them with you to save you a lot of stress because I went through a lot. All right, so let's get into the video. So I'm going to start with old students first of all, right? Old students, I mean, are students that have been on the island, maybe studying, or students that are on the island studying. It doesn't matter your level. For the fact you're studying, whether undergraduate, postgraduate, or whatever, you are an old student. Even if you've been here for one semester, you're an old student, right? So the first thing you have to have with you is your PCR test. It has to be very valid. It has to be 72 hours valid. So I advise you take your test a day before. From my experience, before I left North Cyprus and before I left Nigeria, I took my test a day before. Like I went in the morning around 10 and I got my test result around 7 p.m. So don't say, okay, it's the same day, I'm going to take it around 6 and expect it that same day. It's not going to come. It's good to do it a day before. We know it will start counting by then, but it's better to be on the safer side, right? Make sure your PCR test is valid. If your PCR test is not valid, take it from me that you're going to be stranded in the airport. While coming back to North Cyprus, I ran into this guy who is he's from a French-speaking country. He could barely speak English. So he got to Istanbul and his PCR test expired. Now, in Istanbul, there is a center for doing the rapid tests, but that one is just rapid test. It's not like the normal PCR test. So he couldn't fly with it. They refused him boarding his flight to whatever country he's going to. Now, going back home too, he will need the PCR test. So if not for God's intervention, this guy has been there for like since 24th until I met him on 27th. Imagine what he has been going through, not in a hotel, just sleeping in the lounge. And I actually saw him sitting on the floor when I asked him what the problem was, and I couldn't even understand what he was speaking because he was speaking French. I had to get somebody to interpret. So, but as God may have it, he found a little help through God's intervention. So please, you do not want to be in that situation. Make sure your PCR test is valid. Secondly, this is for people that have already booked their flights, looking for cheap flights, because I booked a cheap flight. And when it was time for me to come back, I had issues because I couldn't carry more than one luggage, right? I thought about upgrading my ticket, which means them allowing me to have an extra luggage with me. Sorry about the noise. Where I am shooting from is like very close to the mirror. So I couldn't upgrade because it was too much. It was almost $300 to upgrade my ticket. So the attendant over the phone told me it would be better for me to just pay for extra luggage when I get to the airport. So I used Egypt Air. So I checked the extra luggage and that was what I did. I paid for it there. Instead of paying like $300 and something for upgrade, I paid for an extra luggage. So this is a tip for you. If you have a cheap flight, a cheap ticket, and you want to carry more luggages, it's better to pay extra luggage at the airport. Moving on, make sure you arrive at the airport early. I'm sharing these things. Okay, it's recording. Is it? Okay. I'm sharing these things based off of my own experience. I arrived at the airport like 3 hours before my boarding time, and as if I knew what was going to happen, it turned out that my airline had changed my flight. Like, they moved me from one airplane to another. I didn't know that. It was when I went to pay for extra luggage that I was told that that flight you want to enter is not yours. The flight you want to enter is not yours, that there is a different one. So they tried to rectify it, and they did the little they could in Nigeria, and I was able to fly. But I also encountered another problem when I got to Istanbul. So imagine if I came 30 minutes to boarding time, there wouldn't have been time for them to fix this thing, because I literally sat in their office for almost 1 hour waiting for them to sort this out. So always make sure you are at the airport very early. You never know what you will encounter. Over to new students, right? After talking about new students, then I'll now tell you guys the real pandemic protocols from Istanbul. But for new students, old students might have already booked their flights. If you haven't booked your flight, then better for you, do not book Turkish Air. If you book Turkish Air, then you will have to pay the $640. That's like the $5,400 or so that they are asking students to pay. If you're using Turkish Air, you must pay it, and they will not let you board your flight in your country if you do not pay it. So if you've not booked your flight, it's better to use a different airline. I used Egypt Air. If you are a new student and you have your visa, it's better to book another airline. Unless you're using OK to board, then you must use Turkish Air, and that means you must pay the quarantine fee. All right, because when you get there, they will tell you they have no idea about the government not wanting to collect the money anymore, so you must pay it. But I didn't pay the money, because when I got to the airport, I did not board with Turkish Air. I boarded with Egypt Air. Egypt Air was more concerned about my documents, which were intact. As a new student, before you even board your flight, make sure to download the app. I'll put the app here so you'd see it. You can find it on Google Store. I don't know if you can find it on Apple Store, but you can find it on Google Store. Download it, open it, and activate it. You can open that with your Nigerian or your whatever country number. For the fact it's working, you can get a text message with it. Use it to create your account in the app before you fly, because I noticed a lady that was with me could not activate the app in Istanbul. I don't know, maybe because her SIM card wasn't working there or something like that. But my card is roaming. My SIM card is in roaming mode, if that's the right English. So I can get text messages everywhere. But then you'd never know what will happen. So it's better to download this app, activate it in your country. If possible, pay the quarantine fee there, so that if you run any issues, you can call somebody in North Cyprus to sort it out for you before you even start your journey. Then, when you get to the Istanbul airport, this is for everyone, both new and old students. You can get free data at the kiosk. Just look around, you will see the Wi-Fi sign where I even talked about this in my previous video, my trip back to Nigeria. If you've not watched that, you should go and watch it too. There are some information I have there. So you can get free data from there with your international passport by swiping through it. When you swipe through it, it will recognize it and then give you a password that you can use to enter their internet connection, whatever. And when you exhaust that one, you can use your SIM card. If you can get codes, if you can get text messages, then you can use your SIM card. So that's another plus. At least this will help you if you need to contact somebody outside the country to help you sort something. It's a way to go. like I said before, an expired PCR test would leave you stranded. So, and I want to tell our French-speaking sisters and brothers, please try to learn at least the basic English so that you can communicate with people outside your country. Imagine when you run into problems out in abroad and then nobody can understand what you're speaking and you need to find someone to interpret for you. If you meet me when I'm in a hurry to catch my flight, I'm definitely not going to talk to you. So I think it's the same thing with almost everybody. Make sure to know at least the basics of communication so that it's easy for you to mingle with other people. All right. Now, generally speaking, when you get to, before you even board your flights, both old and new students, make sure you have cash on you. Make sure you have cash on you. If not for anything, make sure you have dollar so that you can spend and pay for things when you are out. Like when I got from Istanbul to Ejan, I was asked to buy a new SIM card because my SIM card was blocked before I even left the country and I couldn't get text messages and all, and I could not load the SIM card with airtime. So they asked me to buy a SIM card right there and activate it for them to put on the quarantine wristband. By the way, this is my wristband. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, so that's my wristband, and for it to be activated you will need a working SIM card with data inside of it. So when you get to Ejan, first of all, they will make you take another PCR test, which you have also paid for when you were paying for this wristband. After 10 minutes you get your result. If you are negative, you proceed to the passport control and they will let you in and direct you to where you can get your wristband. But if you are positive, you will have to sit down there and wait for them to get dispatch bus to take you to a quarantine center that they will be the ones to select by themselves. But if you are negative, then you can quarantine at home for the fact you have a place that you're going to stay, and it doesn't matter, you can even stay with somebody, but you just cannot leave your room to somewhere else because this wristband will send messages. I woke up this morning to like 4 messages from the wristband in my phone telling me that it has been disconnected. So I'm sure as they're alerting me, they're also alerting them there. So I have to check my connection to make sure it's active. So I think basically this is all you have to know. You don't have to pay for the 6,000, 5,000 something Turkish lira if your airline is not Turkish Air. But if it's Turkish Air, you will have to pay because they will tell you they have no idea about what the government is saying. I don't know why they are doing that. I think it's just their own way of making money and acting ignorant about it. But if you have not bought your ticket, I'd advise you use a different airline if you have a visa or you have a permit, resident permit, like student permit. If you're a new student and you do not have a visa, you want to do okay to board, then you will have to pay the $640, okay? And this is the end of today's YouTube video. Okay, and this is the end of my video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying put to this point. I love you and I appreciate your support. Do well to click on the subscribe button and I'll see you next time.